President Adama Barrow to leave for Niger to attend ECOWAS 57 ordinary session. China rejected allegations that it is interfering in the upcoming U.S. presidential elections. Elsewhere in the Gambia, a camel, a donkey, and a turtle are receiving treatment at veterinary hospital. This week, your full hour news bulletin starts now with Amadou Kante.
It is 1500 hours in Washington, D.C. and 3 m in the Chinese city, Beijing, and 1900 GMT here in the Gambia, where the President of the Republic is due to take part in the 57 ECOWAS Summit. Now, many thanks for joining us. And now the news in detail. President Adama Barrow will leave for Niamey, the Nigerian capital, on Sunday to attend the 57th ordinary session of the ECOWAS Authority of Head of States and Government. West African leaders are due to discuss issues such as security and the impact of the COVID-19 in the sub-region when the session begins on Monday. Details of that in this report by Ibrahim John.
This ordinary session of ECOWAS leaders will be chaired by the Nigerian President Muhammadu Issoufou, Musa Faki Mohammed, the President of the African Union Commission, and Dr. Mohammed bin Chambers, the Special Representative of the UN Secretary General for West and Sahel region, will appear as special guests. This summit is expected to discuss issues of insecurity and the health challenges brought about by the coronavirus pandemic in the sub-region. The West African sub-region faced more security challenges as school soldiers deposed a democratically elected government in Mali last month. Mali and Burkina Faso are also facing threats from Al-Qaeda-linked terrorist groups. Furthermore, Guinea and Ivory Coast face a potential crisis as their leaders express intention to contest controversial third terms where presidential terms are limited to 2 by both countries' constitutions. Sunday's departure will mark President Barrow's second international travel since the COVID-19 pandemic arrived on Gambian shores. In March, the Gambian leader visited neighboring Senegal, where he discussed with President Macky Sall issues relating to cooperation with the aim of strengthening the bilateral relations of the two countries. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Ibrahim John.
The Gambian President Adama Barrow to leave on Sunday for the African Head of State Summit in Niamey, Niger. Now to Kenya next, because the inadequate water supply in rural communities in the country is gradually changing thanks to an innovative water harvesting system. The new water project, constructed more than 100 kilometers from the capital, is improving the lives of many living in the locality. But the development did not come without some complications. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Lack of water presents insurmountable challenges. One can't grow food, stay healthy, and even attend school. Life comes to a standstill. 160 kilometers from Kenya's capital, Nairobi, is Mukurweini Technical Training Institute, They faced criticism from the community for building the institution on top of a hill. The pre-existing water distribution system in the area was gravity-fed, forcing the institute located at the top of a hill to ration water among its staff and students. Meanwhile, the nearby low-lying villages also struggled to cope with the massive surface runoff caused by the heavy rains, causing incessant conflict with the institute.
There was a lot of erosion, and therefore the water used to flood into the homesteads of these villages, whereby their latrines could get full. I remember one time I came in the morning and found the villagers in my reception saying that students could not, young children, they were with them, could not go to school. It was very hurting for me.
Something had to be done. The institution invested in a new roof water harvesting system, including a channeling and piping system, a pond with 3,000 cubic meters of capacity, a water tower, and a solar-powered pump.
When it rained, all this rainwater from the Technical Institute used to flow and overflood our villages. As neighbors, we decided to confront the school's management to help us out of the seasonal troubles. The dam project came, and since it was built and the water harvesting started, our problems ended.
But now things have changed. Instead of simply running off, the rainwater is now channeled into the pond and then pumped to the tower for storage. Students and workers from the nearby villages gather to clean the 3,000 cubic meters water tray.
You can tell those villagers might not be able to pay the metered water many other times that it happens that way. Is it true? But now, students can come for water from the institute and use them where they are. That's a benefit you cannot oversee. We have got the food, which we grow from our farm. We normally sell it as subsidized cost to our students to go and cook where they are. We also take it to our cafeteria. Our cafeteria sells food to students at a cost of 30 to 40 shillings.
Fresh tap water is readily available to the locals. Farming activities have picked up, and students from poor backgrounds benefit from a work for study scheme. The young men and women from this locality are now able to actually go to school without any troubles. The water harvesting pond has changed their lives. It's been a difficult season whereby sometimes the flooding affects the lifestyles in the villages, but right now they're able to learn, eat healthy, and of course all that courtesy of the water harvesting pond.
From the report there in Kenya, we come back home because the proprietor of one of the country's leading real estate companies has been on social media making motivational videos to inspire the younger and older generation on how to deal with life challenges. Saul Fraser is the Chief Executive Officer of Global Properties, and in this report, Maria Macham looks into the man's ventures and his motivations.
He is not only a businessman, Saul Fraser is also a motivational speaker. He took up the challenge of doing short motivational videos online for the young and older generations. His motivational videos cover issues from how to deal with conflict situations, remain motivated, recover from failure, communication and networking to sales objections. Saul Fraser told iAfrica TV it was important for young Gambians to have someone to look up to and learn from them while growing up.
I've always wanted to share my story because when I was growing up, when I was starting a business, I didn't have many Gambians role models to look up to. And I so desperately wanted to know what their challenges were, how did they overcome it, what did they learn along the way. And along the way, I also got inspired by many other people, but non-Gambians. So I decided, hey, you know what? There's so many youth in this country, and wherever I go, I always get this question. I want to start a business, but I don't know how to. I want to come home, I don't know how to. I want to do this and this and that.
Fraser said the aim of his motivational talks is to help young Gambians identify opportunities at home.
This motivational talk is really to enlighten people and show them that there are opportunities within the Gambia, and you can do it, and you don't necessarily have to have a lot of money to start. And just like everybody, you go through ups and downs with your business, and the key is how you stay motivated and all these things. So a lot of these things I've been trying to cover in the videos that I've been doing, and there's a lot more to come.
Meanwhile, Mr. Fraser has done more than 15 such motivational videos, and of the lot, he said his favorite video is the one in which he told his story.
I like the one where I told my story. My life in Sweden was very interesting. I was a semi-professional football player, went to school, and also saw my mother working very, very hard. About how the whole thing started and me traveling or moving to Sweden and having this drive to want to help my mother, get reward for everything that she's done for me. But all of them are equally important to me. That's the reason why I've put them out there. But if I'm going to select one, it would be the one that I talk about myself.
Mr. Fraser said he intends to expand the motivational talks by making physical appearance to reach out to young people in schools and other places. iAfrican News, I am Mariama Cham.
Saul Fraser, the Chief Executive Officer of Global Properties, gets to the social media to inspire young and old generation during difficult times. Now, in other news, African Americans in the United States continue to experience high unemployment with a 13% jobless rate compared to a 7.3% for the white population. This margin is the highest since December 2014, according to a data released by the U.S. Department of Labor on Friday. Like many other countries, the COVID-19 pandemic has heavily impacted the U.S. job market, with the unemployment situation being serious, particularly on minority groups and women. The unemployment rate in the United States had dropped from 10.2% in July to 8.4% in August. U.S. employers added 1.4 million jobs in August as the pandemic-ravaged labor market continues to slowly recover, says the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. The unemployment rate in the United States had previously soared to a record of 14.7% in April as COVID-19 devastated the economy. Payrolls are still about 11 million below pre-pandemic levels. Now, elsewhere, China doesn't ever want to be part of the drama around the U.S. presidential election, where some of the words of Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Hua Chunying at a regular press briefing. Hua made the comments in response to a statement by U.S. Attorney General William Barr earlier this week that China poses a greater threat than Russia and Iran interfering in the upcoming U.S. presidential election. Let's take a listen to the spokeswoman Hua.
This is another example of the US diplomacy of lies. We hope the US will stop measuring others by their own yardstick. Unlike the US, China does not have the gene of interfering in others' internal affairs, nor is it interested or willing to do so. Certain politicians seem to obsessed with making an issue out of China. They have churned out various lies, but they are probably still seeking and fabricating evidence. What I want to say is that there is big drama around the US presidential election, and we are already dazzled by it. They can play this game by themselves. China does not ever want to be involved.
And that was Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman speaking there. Now, the International Court of Justice is scheduled to hold a public hearing in the case of involving the Islamic Republic of Iran versus the United States of America on alleged violations of the 1955 Treaty of Amity, economic relations, and consular rights. The hearings, according to a media release by the UN Court of Justice, will focus on the complaints raised by the United States. Here's more details of that in this report.
Due to the presence of the COVID-19 pandemic, the International Court of Justice will hold its public hearing on the US and Iran case via video link between the 14th to 21st September 2020. Certain members of the court will make physical attendance at the Great Hall of Justice, whereas others will take part virtually. Those representing parties in the case will deliver their speeches to the court by video link. According to ICJ, the United States will begin the first round of oral argument at The Hague on Monday, 14 September, between the hours of 3 to 6 p.m., while the Islamic Republic of Iran will commence its own on Wednesday, 16 September, from 3 to 6 p.m. The second rounds are structured such that the U.S. will present its oral argument on Friday, the 18th September, to be followed by that of Iran on Monday, the 21st of the same month. In August, the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo informed the UN that his country will restore sanctions on Tehran. The proposal was revoked by the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action referred to as the Iran nuclear deal. After handing letters to UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and President of the UN Security Council, Pompeo told journalists that the absurd nuclear deal failed to secure the United States and Middle East. He added that the deal has not reformed Iran's behavior. The International Court of Justice was established for the settlement of international disputes and has highlighted on Article 33 of the United Nations Charter, the methods for this judicial function includes chiefly the peaceful settlement of disputes. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Ibrahim John.
You are watching the news this week on iAfrica TV, live from our studios in Banjul, and there is more news coming ahead. But for now, we'll take a break and come back shortly. Welcome back. You're watching the news this week live on iAfrica TV. Now, the Gambia Horse and Donkey Trust, a charitable in the Makashutu, Gambia's West Coast region, is saving the lives of animals by looking after their health. The hospital provides treatment to animals in their vicinity and sometimes to those beyond their primary jurisdiction. Viewer discretion is advised, or as Omar Ahmad Toure reports.
Flavia, a camel, is undergoing treatment at the hospital. She suffers from elephantiasis, which is also known as lymphatic filariasis, which causes the swelling of body parts, with the legs being mostly affected. Flavia has spent 2 months here under the care of the Kiev cattle handler, Nuri, and Emily, a volunteer nurse from the United Kingdom, explains how Flavia would be treated.
But we're waiting for the veterinary surgeon to be able to come, and he'll use a cauterizing iron, so really strong heat, to cut off all of this excess tissue. The wound itself has been there for about 6 years now. It had a long time of not being treated.
On a visit to the animal hospital this week, iAfrica took note of a donkey being admitted for treatment of her broken leg. The case of the camel and that of the donkey was so breaking and news until our camera zoomed on a total held for intensive care at the facility in the West Coast region. The total, according to the caregivers, had been attacked by the poachers, from which it nearly lost one of its flippers. For this delicate situation, the animal hospital contracted 3D Gambia to help in the planting of a bone for the total to regain its movement strength. Nurse Emily explains the process involved.
We're in the process of trying to design her a 3D flipper. So making almost a prosthetic limb that we can attach to her shell to restrict the movement in order to fix that broken bone.
Dembo Jambe is the head of the laboratory with responsibilities in conducting all diagnostic tests of samples collected from animals right at the outpatient department. He noted that in a case of deworming, samples are examined for the presence of eggs, as the more the presence of eggs in the samples, the easier the treatment.
To deworm the animals, it may kill the big eggs, but the small ones may get high, so you may not treat the animal well. So you will give a chance to the parasite to get more agile to the animal. So you have to give chance. So if you have more than 250, then you have the confidence to deworm animals. Sometimes you may give them 3 courses or 5 courses in order to clear everything inside.
The hospital relies on fundraising mainly from abroad to provide medication to treat the animals brought to the facility. The cost of medication from its dispensary ranges from $50 to $150 for animals within the host community and a maximum of $300 for those beyond the catchment area, depending on the prescription detail. Omar Ahmad Toure, iAfrica TV.
And from the report there by Omar Ahmad Toure, to matters of COVID-19, because the race to produce a COVID-19 vaccine is visible in every corner of the world. Every country, big or small, wants to be ordained as the healer of a sick globe. Well, even some African countries have promoted their traditional medicine as a cure for the virus, and with Russia announcing a conclusion in the development of the vaccine, China and the United States are expected to follow suit. On Friday, the WHO said that people highly at risk will be the first target in the vaccination process. Ibrahim John again has more details of that.
The World Health Organization told journalists at a press conference that it will endorse a vaccine only if it is safe to use, and that the vaccination of essential workers will be prioritized during the 4 stages. There is no vaccine for the coronavirus yet. The WHO chief scientist Soumya Swaminathan said an approved vaccine is expected to surface around the second half of 2021.
It's a very optimistic scenario because there's a huge field of candidates, and we expect results from some of the candidates which are already in phase 3 trials to come by the end of the year or the beginning of next year, following which there will have to be scaling of manufacturing to produce the hundreds of millions of doses that are going to be needed. So realistically speaking, probably the second half, the middle of 2021, maybe the second quarter, third quarter of 2021 is when we can start seeing doses actually flowing into countries.
Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, the WHO Director General, said the usage of the vaccine as a global public good is to the advantage of all countries. He stated that if people in low and middle income nations fail to access the vaccine, then defeating COVID-19 will be impossible and it will continue to negatively impact the global economy.
When we have an effective vaccine, we must also use it effectively. In time, as production increases, we want all people everywhere to have access to vaccines. But initially, when supply is limited, priority must be given to vaccinating essential workers and those most at risk, including older people and those with underlying conditions.
Last month, the Russian leader Vladimir Putin said that a vaccine developed by Russian scientists had passed all the required checks and that one of his own daughters had undergone the test. But there is yet a globally approved vaccine for the novel coronavirus. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Ibrahim John.
The world intensify efforts to find a lasting solution against the COVID-19 global pandemic. We stay with matters of COVID-19, this time though in the Gambia, because the number of COVID-19 tests conducted by the Gambia's Ministry of Health have significantly lowered after few sample collection centers opened on Wednesday, whereas the number of tests conducted on a daily basis reduced, so does the number of confirmed coronavirus cases. Here's more details of that.
In July and August, health authorities conducted nearly 400 or more COVID-19 tests daily as community infection increased. This warranted the establishment of new sample collection centers and the initiation of mass testing for the coronavirus. But the public turnout has been significantly low, according to the Ministry of Health. On September 5th, only 183 people were tested for the virus, and out of these, only 30 new cases were recorded. A day earlier, 95 new tests were conducted, and of the lot, only 19 returned positive positive. It is not clear what is the cause of the significantly low numbers of tests and the new cases being registered as the country reaches its peak and the projected 3,000 cases as of August. iAfrica TV contacted the Director of Health Promotion and Education, Momodou Ndiaye, the Acting Director of National Health Laboratory, Sirifo Jang, Bubadabo of Medical Store, and Sana Sambu, Head of Public Health Emergency Operation Centers, Epidemiology and Disease Control Unit. However, they were either unable to comment or unreachable by phone. As of Saturday, the Gambia has more than 3,000 confirmed cases, of which more than 1,700 are under treatment, more than 1,300 have recovered and 99 have died. Could the low number of cases being registered lately be as a result of the significant drop in the number of daily COVID-19 tests being conducted? Reporting for Africa TV, I am Ibrahima Kebi Sonko.
Gambia's Minister of Health widening efforts in the fight against the COVID-19 global pandemic now to South Africa, because the South African Audit Office and law enforcement agencies have begun investigations into the alleged corruption concerning COVID-19 funds. Many South Africans, including the President, expressed concern over the mishandling of the COVID-19 monies meant to support the public as part of efforts to contain the virus. South Africa has been the hardest hit nation in Africa since the outbreak of the novel coronavirus in March, and many are calling for justice. Here is more details of that in this report.
Once it became apparent that corruption and fraud was an issue, President Cyril Ramaphosa acted quickly and instructed the country's law enforcement agencies and the Auditor General's office to investigate.
A lot of the effort that we put into this on the detection side of things has revealed a number of frightening findings that require to be followed up very quickly, so that there is no significant passage of time before the required actions are implemented.
The scrutiny and detection work done by the AG's office, which highlighted risks and possible fraud, will now be sent to law enforcement agencies at the Fusion Centre.
And we believe that those people have what it takes. They've got the skills, they've got the tools, and they've got the statutory mandate to take those matters that raised our level of suspicion as an audit office to a next level.
There has already been action taken against senior government officials. This as a report was released. The entire senior management team at the Unemployment Insurance Fund has been suspended. Most sectors in society want to see rapid action taken against the alleged perpetrators.
We've seen very little consequence. We've yet to see anybody go to jail. We've seen very few of the stolen assets being returned. So that is, for us, is critical.
I think that has got to be properly done, because I suspect there are millions or hundreds of millions of rands that might be at stake. It's not quantified at all in the Auditor General report. But the second thing is, this is an ongoing project, and we've got over 800,000 people who have not been paid, some back to April.
While the first report was pretty damning, that second report, which is due in November, will probably provide more insight and more ammunition for those who are fighting corruption.
That report there in South Africa brings us to the end of this week's news bulletin on iAfrica TV. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, you can log on our website on africa.tv. Once again, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and bye for now.